The other one is obviously Alfari has had all this stupid drama attached to him coming to NA, and I've even seen some of the LCS fans have that whack angle of like, how can he be the best? We didn't win any of the splits. Well, this is one of the triggers I want to set up for you, which is half the time that he's in these games, he's even doing everything you bought him for. He's winning in lane. Sometimes he's even doing it without the better matchup. He's in positions where he tries to go in and he tries to do fucking damage or tries to take over a team fight. But I get the feeling, this is why it'll probably tie into the Jensen sidebar. Dude, I get the feeling like, I know he already in his career had a lot of teams where some of the teammates weren't as good. It's like in Team Liquid, they don't back him up on half the shit he does. What do you think on this topic?
Team Liquid is the Jekyll and Hyde of like this tournament, because I cannot handle Santorin's like madness level of understanding. He's literally like, it's like taking him 6 months to find out that he can gank top lane. Like, this guy literally shows up top and stares at a fucking turret as Talon, and it's tilting my absolute brains out. It's so woeful. It's so awful. And then you have Alfari having to attempt to make these massive hero plays on like Gnar and stuff, flashing over walls and stunning. But the ADC that he's going on to hasn't had any of their resources burnt. The people that he's like engaging on to like are got more resources than them. Maybe he's had to have a flash burnt in lane from a gank. And so he's being punished and crippled by the decision making on his team, even though he's getting like these Jax draft picks, the Gnar draft picks, like Jace draft picks. They're then not setting up for it, and it's like, well, this is fucking pointless, ain't it? What's the fucking point in doing this? It might as well just be in a tank.
You have any thoughts, Jaska?
Yep. So I want to say two things about how they're kind of playing around the top side. One is actually a rare misstep from Alfari in the Gen G game that I've seen several times this Worlds, and it's something that players, I guess, haven't played against a lot, so they're still just not actually playing to the timing. But there's a new jungle path that's kind of been conceived to where you can hit level 3 like way faster than any other clear, doing red Wraith's Grump into top, and you'll get to top like 30 seconds earlier. And Alfari died and gave up a lot of pressure that he otherwise would have had because he just didn't respect that timing, even though like everything in the game shows that timing probably would have been hit. And I saw that happening to multiple teams at Worlds, so like that's just one thing that's on Alfari. But This is something that I also see as a very common trend. It's just so frustrating to see when there are 3 people going for a kill and the kill is 100% guaranteed. It's almost always like the tank or the support who's taking the kill. Like in the first kill, it was Santorin on Sejuani taking the kill. And how do you expect Alfari to play if he's not getting these leads and you're also not giving him proper help? Like, what is he even supposed to do in these situations?
Yeah, that's the thing I think people also miss in the game is it's not even just literally like, I have a kill, what can I do with that gold? Or it's like, it also depends on the matchup. Like you could sometimes that kill might literally be worth 3 times more on the top lane or the mid lane if it's a specific matchup. Like in that scenario, if you actually factored in the cost, like risk benefit analysis, you'd even find times where even if there was like a 10% chance you don't get the kill by trying to juggle it, it might be worth it if you get 3 times more value out of it. I always think that's an area that pros like are very poorly drilled on in the West, right? Kira, this ties in, like I alluded to there, to another topic that I know we've discussed a lot, but a lot of fans don't really think about because they don't tend to try and model teams. They act as though each player can just be dropped, plug and play into any team in the world and should just literally output the same stats, no matter who the fuck, what's going on. Like I've seen this happen many times with the players who come from EU to LCS. So one area I feel like the Alfari story ties into Jensen is because watch out, if Alfari stays in this team and has to put up with a few more years of this kind of like the team not setting you up to succeed, despite you being the best player, he will become what Jensen is now. And when I see Jensen, half of his problems, in my opinion, one of the reasons he's gotten more and more passive over the years, and he tends to be a little bit more selfish and just stay in lane sometimes. I actually noticed, by the way, when Alfari was popping off, it actually would draw him out of lane to roam top sometimes. It's like he's got one player he can trust on the team. But I get the vibe with Jensen. He's just had so many passive / semi-dodgy junglers that like he just doesn't trust his teammates, man. Like he's not the guy like a Perks who's like, look, we're going to roam, and if we all die, by the way, and we look stupid, that's fine. This is how you win the game. You got to go for the decisive plays. He really does feel sometimes that he just lets the game come to him, and if he doesn't get favourable situations, he can be a bit invisible. What's your take on this, on the Jensen topic? Because I know he's obviously a very, I would say, sort of divisive player among fans.
Basically, Alfari knows how he's bread's buttered. In the TL versus Mad game, Alfari basically takes his personal lead that he has in the matchup versus Armut, where he's like owning Armut, who has the Jax. He's literally like 5 minutes in, the Jax has no pots, he's crashed like a massive wave. I think they killed the Jax eventually. He's got this great lane position, and he just fucks off mid and jumps on a humanoid and kills humanoid with Jensen and takes it up, because there's no way in a million years it looks like Alfari's burning his TP to go bot. He was doing it during like any regular split. I don't think I've really seen him do it at Worlds ever at all. He is not one of those he's really not got that impact thing where he's saving the TP to cover like the TL bot lane. Those days are like long gone. He's definitely they're playing for the two solo laners like advantages. But again, you come into this problem where you don't have a team that's facilitating that. They seem lost and not understanding themselves. Like, Jensen's getting these TF picks, and it looks really, really bad. I'm really not understanding why Jensen is getting TF. It is one of the most powerful picks at World,
sure.
But personally, Jensen's own understanding of the pick is very, very poor. I would really like them to move to a more like LeBlanc, possibly Ryze-like style thing, because that still allows you to attack the side lanes, move into the jungle, look for the picks, something Jensen's really, really comfortable on. But the TF understanding on the team is very, very, very poor. They're not active with it. They don't use the ults well. It just really isn't the thing for me. You really need to like change it up.
Yeah, TF is definitely a pick that requires you to have so much team understanding, because Twisted Fate isn't a Jensen champion. It needs to be a Team Liquid champion if you want to play it well.
Yes.
Like, you have to play a very specific game to make it work. It's kind of really similar to Ryze in terms of the ceiling of how you can use Ryze. Ryze can be plug and play, but you're really not going to get the max value out unless you can get those kind of like roams top and stuff. I really see a lot of like weird like drafts with the last game that was today with Jensen. I feel like they just kind of counterpicked. They first rotationed Aurelia to take it away from Birdall, who is a really big Aurelia player. And they last second swapped to get Jax mid. And I feel like Aurelia is just not a Jensen champion. But because of the way that the draft went, they had to get Aurelia onto Jensen so that Alfari wanted to play Jax. And like these kind of weird like draft situations where they're also just drafting so much like into champions like Sylas and Trundle, who do really well into these kind of heavy melee comps. And just drafting in general from Team Liquid is just really, really poor. And they also are very similar to sort of Team Liquid or to Cloud9 in that it seems like they kind of have several different ways of trying to play the game. And you have Alfari, who should be the win con that they play around, but the rest of the team just can't play to that style for some reason. So it's just such a massive mismatch, and it just really isn't going to work with this current lineup.
Yeah, I mean, the weird thing for me about Team Liquid is the reason I'll never give up on them is because you just look at the lineup on paper and it's like, this is fucking fire. What are you talking about? This could be amazing. But I have to say, their success almost comes in spite of the fucking teamwork that they have. Because I think in terms of like raw teamwork, I know Cloud9 has issues. That's why it's a good shout, by the way, for an analog. Mate, it's like the fucking teamwork these teams have is trash compared to even like some of the like minor teams that you see that actually at least have a style and know what they're doing. Like, I get the vibe, no joke. If you could like download into the brain of Team Liquid the style of play that Fnatic was using in LEC, maybe they'd win like 20% more games, because Team Liquid is the squad who doesn't have the go button where everyone goes in together and actually like coordinatedly plays. Like the three laners sometimes feel completely disconnected. Like, I have no fucking clue. I genuinely, no joke, I don't even understand how Tactical views League of Legends. Like, I get, people think I'm just like taking examples and trolling here. I'm not. Put it this way, here's the joke. When they picked him Ziggs today, I almost wanted to like fucking do a tweet like, people have told him you don't have to satchel into fights, right? Because the joke is any fucking escape ability he uses to go in and die in the middle of fights. Like, it's like he doesn't get the concept of what ADC is. Like, motherfucker, if you're playing Tristana, Ezreal, and I'm against you in solo queue and you're like a one trick on those champions, I can never catch you. You're always fucking jumping out at the last second. Like, that's what you do with us, champion. He just gets caught all day, and I don't get it because he has one of the best supports. His other players are very good. He's definitely not called upon to be the main win condition. So I don't really know like how he's being coached or how they're telling him to play, because to me, the disconnect, he's one of the biggest ones, but Santorin's another one. The disconnect between certain key players on the team means that lineup on paper never really seems to manifest in the server. What do you think here, Kira?
This was egregious in the TL LNG series, where you basically had tactical make the game completely unwinnable. He just gave up mid versus light. I think maybe 3 times. We're talking 3 times. He just like instead of like queuing the minions from maximum range, was coming up to attempt to auto the minions with grav gun. Aphilo was just standing there, and he was just getting mowed down the lane. And it's unfathomable. Like, it's literally pertains to like a guy that's not actually understanding and not actually being inside like the team composition and the team idea of how they're going to win this game, and he's treating it like a game of solo queue or something, where he's just like, oh well, it's this part of the game where I farm the mid lane, and he's just feeding away massive amounts of waves, massive amounts of time, and when the mid section of the map collapses, that basically creates like a dead zone where your side laners can now no longer productively do things, because you're going to then lose the vision in the jungle to then be then attacked. So he's causing massive problems for even Jensen and Alfari to get anything like going in terms of like split pushing or attacking side lanes. It's really egregious.
Mm-hmm. So one thing about the whole sort of Ziggs pick is it clearly seems like he's just not comfortable on the pick. And this is a big thing that we see with other picks, to where when pro players pick up new picks, like, they don't really take the time and effort to try to understand how and why the champion should be played. Like, there are some teams playing the MF Yuumi combo, like the NA teams playing MF Yuumi, and they don't understand like how you can use both ults together to kind of get a really, really good MF ult on,
Sure.
which is the main reason that you sort of pick that combo. And if they're just not using these, they don't even understand how to use the champions, like, they just can't succeed. And I was also looking at the specific, like, one of the plays of Tactical getting picked off in the mid lane in the LNG game. And it's just such a basic situation where his mid turret's down. He can just wait for the wave to push into him. The wave was pushing into him, and he decided to walk up and then just got flanked for no reason. Like, he's going to lose maybe 2 minions to just stay safe and go back. But there's just no excuse to really make that kind of play, to just try to be so aggressive. It's not even aggression to try to get something. It's high risk and almost no reward.
Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.